Bwaaa!
Bwaaa trash fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas. The trailer park is nice and dark, deep in the heart of Texas. That drinks his brew and he spits his chew, deep in the heart of Texas. The TV blares, but no one cares, deep in the heart of Texas. Here we go!
Hey everybody, welcome to Bwaaa,
Bwaaa.
a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
Rusty, we are all the way at season 3, episode 21. We are almost done with this entire freaking season.
Yeah, we've almost made it all the way through season 3. But when we did the math, we knew we would get through probably to the end of season 4 before the new year. So
Yeah. We today's episode is a particularly memorable one. Revenge of the Lutefisk.
yep, Revenge of the Lutefisk.
And I guess it's Lutefisk? not
Lutefisk.
Lutefisk?
Lutefisk. But I think one of the most funniest things about this episode to me is how controversial it could be,
Sure.
but how innocent it really is. It's not even like a burning a church because of a woman, a woman pastor.
Yeah.
Would be a huge controversial thing.
Oh, yeah.
Which if you look at it from that way, that's kind of what it looks like. But then you find out it was just because of a stinky man.
Stinky man.
So
Hey, so
find the man with the stink.
you told me when you were watching it on what? What did you
Oh,
watch this
Hulu.
episode? You
It
watched
said
it on Hulu.
Lutefish.
It said Lutefish. Okay.
It was like it was a misspelling.
So just real quick, the lutefish is a freshwater fish native to Africa.
Oh, so it's actually a fish.
Yeah. So that is
So the lutefisk is not the lutefish.
It's not the lutefish.
Not the lutefish.
Yeah, but I can see how it can be. It's just a K instead of an H at the end.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that Hulu got it like that. I thought. I noticed that while I was watching it earlier, because I was watching it on my phone, and it kept, every now and again you accidentally hit while you're watching it, and it'll pop up
Yeah.
and tell you the title of what you're watching, and it did that like 4 or 5 times, and I was like, oh, that says fish, not fisk. So it was kind of thought I'd bring it up.
I have an inordinate amount of lutefisk research here, so when we get to it, I'm just warning all of you. You will hear a lot about lutefisk.
Lutefisk. Okay.
All right, so we start this sucker. No bell, no yell. We are at the church, which is the Arlen First Methodist, and the church sign outside says, "Welcome Sunday services at 11." And we have Reverend Thomason, who we find out that's his name as Hank starts to talk. He is up at the pulpit, and this is a Methodist church, so they wear the robes and the kind of the cloak. Not quite a priest, but more like we have a couple of First Methodist type churches here in town. I know one of them does a TV service and all that stuff.
There's a isn't Lutheran? Isn't that the aren't they this Lutheran Methodist? Isn't that the?
I think it's two different things.
They're 2 different things.
Yeah, I think they're 2 different things.
Well, there was I think it's either. I guess it's a Lutheran church, not a Methodist church. Then,
Yeah.
So never mind. It isn't.
So
Piss somebody off.
yeah, we don't
also,
piss off the
going back
Methodists.
to Reverend Thompson, this
Yeah.
is only the second time that we see him in the show, and this is the last time that you see him since he does retire.
Which is
in this episode.
Which was the first time we saw him?
We saw him when he was worried about the juice being spilled on the church carpet.
Oh,
in,
there you go.
The Manger Babies episode, Meet the Manger
Yeah,
Babies.
I remember that.
And he's voiced again by Maurice LaMarche.
Okay, cool. And this is this the return of Artie with our facts?
Yeah, this is some facts from Artie. So we got Artie back again. He's got
Nice.
settled down down there in the
Swamp.
the swamplands of Florida. So yeah, he's nestled in. He's probably upset that I'm not live streaming this one,
Sure.
but I'm live streaming the fun episodes. This content you're gonna have to wait for from now on, Artie. Sorry, buddy. But I am gonna start live streaming all the fun episodes for
Yeah.
sure. I just don't the episodic content is content you got to wait for. Sorry.
Yeah, there's some changes coming to the show, and they're all positive changes. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
We are currently building a set, so that we can maybe do some video content and things like that. So
Yeah, so we get the,
really
the
looking
YouTube
forward
more
to it.
active again. I need to get
Yeah.
all the season 2 stuff from you, so I
Yeah.
can start getting that on the YouTube as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And then and then get season 3. But I'm
So-
trying to get all that on there.
First Methodist Church. Methodism, also called the Methodist movement, is a group of historically related denominations of Protestant Christianity whose origins, doctrine, and practices derive from the life and teachings of John Wesley.
John Wesley.
George Whitefield and John's brother Charles Wesley were also significant leaders in the movement. So they were named Methodist for the methodical way in which they carried out their Christian faith. So they're all about the practices and the methodology and the.
I don't know why I always
that
group
kind of
those
thing.
with Lutherans. Or is that like a?
Yeah.
Are they like a break off of the Lutherans?
I think all of them are a break off of Lutherans
Of
at a
Lutheranism,
certain
yeah.
point, right? Because isn't he the one that nailed the doctrines to the
Martin
to the-
Luther, he did on the Catholic Church, I
Mhm.
guess there in Germany.
So it says
I think it
Methodism.
was Germany.
I don't know, originated as a revival movement in the Church of England in the 18th century and became a separate denomination after Wesley's death. The movement spread throughout the British Empire, the United States, and beyond because of vigorous missionary work, and today has about 80 million adherents worldwide.
So it had nothing to do with the Lutheran Church then. It had to do with the Church of England, which is
Yeah.
another offshoot of Catholicism.
Sure.
And it was because Catholicism didn't allow divorce. The King Henry at the time was looking for a way out of a marriage. You know, instead of beheading one, he was looking for a legal option.
Just start another.
Yeah. Instead of murder, he was looking for a legal option. So he created his own religion.
That's
so that is
awesome.
the
Good for
official
him.
Church of England. Actually, still that's the official Church of England, but it was just created as a escapism for a king.
So I went to firstmethodist.org, and this is actually the website for the First Methodist Church of Baton Rouge.
Oh, Baton Rouge. Okay.
They say these are a few things that they mention here. Scripture, the Holy Bible is our primary source for Christian doctrine. Biblical authors testify to God's self-disclosure in the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, as well in God's creation, blah, 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 blah. Tradition, our attempt to understand God does not start anew with each generation or each person. Our faith also does not leap from New Testament times to the present, as though nothing could be learned from all the Christian thinkers and preachers in between. We learn from traditions found in many cultures, but Scripture remains norm by which all traditions are judged. So there you go. I mean, that gives you a little bit of the First Methodist. Now, there are different kinds of Methodists, but First Methodist is what we were exposed to here. So he is up there, and he's
Also specifically called First.
Yeah.
That's like the title.
There's
Because
definitely
you always
different
hear
Methodists,
First
yeah.
Baptist Church.
There's a
for-
United Methodist, there's a First Methodist, there's all of that. Yeah.
Okay, because you always hear like First Baptist Church, but that
Yeah.
only means it was the First Baptist Church in the area.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't understand all that. You know.
Well, the First Baptist Church in Belmead was the first Baptist church that was ever built in Belmead. So I always thought I was associated First Baptist Church in an area with the area name behind it. Was that I was just assumed that was established as the first church in that area.
So they are like the originals of the YouTube comment first,
Yeah.
right? Is that what that is?
First.
That's right.
Yeah, I watched this first.
Okay, so he's up there speaking to him, and he says, "I told that state trooper, ignorance of the Lord is no excuse either." That was like came in the middle of a sentence or whatever. He is up there in his robe at the pulpit. Peggy sitting in the audience with or the congregation with Bobby and Hank. By the way, they are dressed to the nines because when you go to church, you have
Sunday.
to dress up.
Yeah, you're in your
And-
Sunday best, right?
And now that
In
I
the
know,
South, that's what we call our Sunday best.
yeah,
And it's not only your Sunday best; it's probably your wedding outfit.
Sure.
It's
Funerals,
probably your funeral
weddings.
outfit. It's probably your
job interviews,
your old grandmother,
You
like
know?
probably your
Yeah.
grandmother's birthday
yeah.
outfit.
high tea.
Because
Yeah.
generally for any other birthday, you might be in a backyard just slumped over a fire. Everybody's
sure.
sitting there just drinking around a
shorts
fire,
and
you know,
stuff.
in
Yeah,
shorts.
yeah.
And more
How-
casual.
Well, I mean, this is we don't see Bobby in a suit very often.
When they go out to eat, they dress to the
sure,
nines too.
sure. When they go to Ponchos.
Sugarfoot's, yeah,
Ponchos.
or Ponchos, yeah, dress to the nines just to go to Sugarfoot's.
So they are all sitting out there in the pews. Large congregation, by the way. There's a lot of people there. So I'm assuming this is one of the only churches in Arlen. I'm sure there's Baptists and other things, but they have a large congregation. It looks pretty full. And Peggy's she says, well, that was quick. Hank says, yeah, well, Winston Cup's on at noon, and Reverend Thomason always wraps it up in plenty of time. Now, that was a big deal growing up as a Baptist. Southern Baptist, we get out in time for football.
Yeah, football. So, about 11:30, everybody's starting to.
Oh, they're starting to
They're
move
looking.
and look.
Yeah, they're looking for the benediction.
Checking their watches.
Where's the end of it at?
Yep.
It's like collection plate hadn't even been passed around yet.
Starting to take the little flyer and roll it up.
Yeah,
and,
they're getting antsy,
Getting a
looking
little
at their
antsy.
watches, looking at the clock.
Well,
you got the clock, and I noticed that too. A lot of Baptist churches that I've been to, somewhere
There's a
in the
clock.
front there is a clock,
Which is nuts.
Because
it ought to be a casino.
Yeah,
you don't know what time it is.
Yeah, you're not supposed to know what time it is. You're supposed to be engrossed in the Lord. But when that clock starts getting a little close to noon, you start kind of
our problem,
the big game.
Our problem always was he'd get us out in time for football, but we didn't have time to go by and pick up the fried chicken before we went home.
Oh, man.
So that was tough.
Yeah, that is.
And
tough.
God forbid,
you got to choose which one you want.
Oh, God forbid.
You want to be late for football, or do you want chicken?
Sure.
Yeah.
God forbid they have a Sunday lunch, like a potluck, which comes up here in a minute. But we were not happy about the potluck.
There better be a TV somewhere in that fellowship hall.
There wasn't, and when I was a kid, there wasn't even a VCR. So it's not like you could record it. You miss it, you miss it.
You missed it. It was it. You could only talk about it.
That's right.
You couldn't live it.
Well, you start hearing it from other people, and you're like, well, shit,
I didn't even get to see it.
Damn pastor.
It's like FOMO, fear of missing out.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, that must have been terrible.
It was
that
rough.
generation,
Yeah, it was
man.
rough. It was
for
tough.
that generation, the fear of missing out. Like you're literally doing 80 miles an hour to get home to the TV because if you're not there, you miss it.
Think about how much money these guys made though, because it was the only thing. There was no recording it, there was no replaying it, there was nothing. You either had to be there, or it was blacked out, or you had to be at home glued to your TV.
Wow.
Right then and there. Just like the Super
crazy.
Bowl, that kind of thing now.
Well, that's why they had the viewerships.
Yeah.
That's why now you get
sure.
That's why now you get people on Twitch with 100,000 viewers and TV channels that could barely pull 40.
It's live.
Yeah.
It's live.
Yeah.
So Reverend Thomason says, and now, friends, I'm sad to say that I've decided to retire from Arlen First Methodist. The entire congregation goes,
Peggy's joke right here kills me because, I went to a Baptist church as a kid, and our pastor was actually he was kind of younger for what you would, for a pastor. This was a church that when he got there, he was like in his late 40s, and he knew he would never leave this church. This is the last, because he'd been to a few churches by this point.
Sure.
But he knew at this point, this is the last church I'll ever be a part of. And he said, this is where I'll end my career kind of thing. Right. So him being youthful and younger, he had a different approach. He was the kind of pastor that was out there throwing footballs with us and frisbees with us and stuff like that. He wasn't like the old codger that's like, oh, don't have fun. So he was, I don't know. It was different how he approached things. So I knew that they worked more than just half a day a week.
Yes.
I knew that he spent hours reading and contemplating.
Peggy looks at Hank.
Very insulting.
When everybody gasps, and she goes, "What? Retire? The man works half a day a week." That is a good joke.
Shout out to Brother Terry, though. Yeah.
Reverend Thomason says, after much reflection and soul searching, I've decided that the future of God is on the internet.
Cyberrev.com.
Cyberrev.com will spread the gospel to every online soul in the world, unless you have AOL.
I got a request from our fan, the one that makes the advertisements and stuff.
Yes, I want to talk about that here in a minute.
Cyberrev.com advertisement. So if you're listening, go ahead and get that for us.
Since you said that, I went to cyberrev.com.
Oh.
It's a real thing.
Oh, wow.
Creator, this is the title of the website. Creator is universal kingdom, Yahweh within, not religion. Creator is universal kingdom, Yahweh within, not religion, domination or world, or denomination or world. I don't understand what that says.
I'm not sure.
I know it's
that
English.
Might be a bad AI mashup.
Then there's a picture of didn't you call that like the Ankh? The cross with a loop on the top of it.
Yeah, that's an Ankh.
And then next to it, you've got one of the what do you call that? The
Sphinx.
Yeah, all I could think of was sarcophagus for some reason. So it says Cyber Rev Nation, the stone, not people, paper, or cross, that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. That's Psalms 118:22. Creator Amun Ray is a universal spirit cosmic kingdom. This is not man-made religion, domination, or world.
You're probably on a watch list now, Mike, for looking that up.
This is a cult. It says, this is not man-made religion, denomination, or world. Your spiritual awakening, transformation, power, domination, love, and peace is within. See Proverbs 23:7, Luke 17:21, and Psalms 1.
You know what that sounds like?
What's
an
that?
SEO readout for like search engine optimization. It just sounds like a bunch of words all put together.
I just want you to look at this picture. Tell me that's not a cult. It's a young woman.
Mindfulness you discover within. Yeah, that's a cult, dude. You're gonna start getting stuff in the mail.
It's a young woman with her arms just up to the heavens, and she's so happy, and there's just like confetti falling around her for some reason. And it says, "Mindfulness, discover you within." And then it says,
speaking of
peace and
cult,
love.
it's the 30th anniversary of the famous cult incident that happened in our town.
Sure. Yeah, the Branch Davidians.
Yeah, the Branch Davidians.
I played pool with one of the lawyers.
They called him
after
the wacko from
the
Waco.
So there's a lot of videos on this site. One is Buried Secrets of the Bible. It looks like they're looking inside the pyramids. This one says the story of Osiris. And then this one, picture of the Pope and the globe next to him, says all who dwell on the earth will worship him. So
papal globalism. It sounds like
it sounds wonderful, doesn't it?
It sounds like a cult. Definitely.
So I want you to understand that I am not endorsing any of this. But if you want to go look at cyberrev.com, I think you need to put a couple hours aside just so you can see some of this stuff.
And a virus protection software.
Yeah, I hope I start getting stuff. I would love that. Okay, so cyberrev.com, he says, it will spread the gospel to every online soul in the world unless you have AOL. I'll be hosting a potluck dinner on Saturday to welcome your new minister. Now, AOL, did you ever have AOL?
I did. I never paid for it.
Sure.
Because there were so many free discs that eventually the time limit, it was just infinite because there were so many discs.
I think we talked about that at one point. The one thing that I don't think people realize at this point, or some of the younger listeners don't realize, AOL was a closed system.
Yeah.
Like you would dial up to AOL, it would log you in, and then you were within their system and only allowed to see the stuff you could see within AOL.
Yeah. Which was pretty free and open at that time anyway, because the internet at that time was there was no front page, if you will, at the time, other than the browser AOL when you got into it. Other than that, the internet was like unfettered at that time.
I think about this time, Mozilla may have been starting, but it wasn't even Firefox yet. It was just Mozilla. It was just Mozilla, but it was a closed system. And so, again, you could only see what you could see. And also at this time, and this is super geeky, and I'm sorry, a lot of browsers, any of the internet browsers that you would use, you could only see pages that were formatted for that browser.
Oh yeah. The formatting wasn't universal. There was universal language.
Yeah.
Whatever you were designing whenever you designed your website, you had to design it to the browser you wanted to be seen on, or you had to design enough. If there's 5 browsers, you would have to design 5 different websites as it would work.
It was
for each
before
browser
international. Yeah, it was before international HTML standards.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's why he says unless you have AOL. Hank responds and says the new guy better like sports, and then the Reverend says, Reverend Karen Stroop, and the entire congregation once again,
woman.
And Hank says, a woman. And now we transition into the alley with all 4 guys, Dale, Bill, Hank, and Boomhauer, all standing there.
This is a pretty good joke too. This whole opening right here, this whole little setup is just great. This whole joke.
So Dale is the first one to speak up. He says, so it's up and running, the secret lab in the basement of the Harvard Divinity School where they ordain women surgically. Ordain surgically.
Yeah.
Hank says, the Pebble Beach Celebrity Golf Pro-Am is this Sunday. If the gal's sermon runs late, you know how women like to talk. We're going to miss Matt Lauer's opening drive.
It's funny. Is it Matt Lauer the one that recently had the scandal?
Matt Lauer is the one that
he got caught with his underwear down or something?
Well, people would walk into his office. He'd hit a button behind his desk, and the door would lock, and then he'd start pulling out dildos.
Oh, wow.
Not great, Matt Lauer.
Wow.
So AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am is what it's known as now. The event was originally known as the Bing Crosby National Pro Amateur, or just the Crosby Clam Bake. It sounds creepy.
That was wild, yeah.
After Crosby's
I don't know
death,
where the hell they come up with these names.
After Crosby's death in 1977, the tournament was hosted by his family for 8 years. The Crosby name was dropped after the 1985 event, and the AT&T Corporation became the title sponsor in 1986. One of the most exciting events on the PGA Tour, the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, is contested annually in front of thousands of spectators and millions of television viewers on 3 of the Monterey Peninsula's premier golf courses: Pebble Beach Golf Links, Spyglass Hill Golf Course, and Monterey Peninsula Country Club Shore Course. Good God. Monterey Peninsula Country Club Shore Course.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
Holy shit.
Yeah, this is where I guess golf was not a conversation that I remember hearing a lot of when it was a sports conversation. This must be definitely restricted to certain suburban areas.
Late
in Texas.
70s, early 80s, when there was no football on TV. And my father-in-law is still like this, and he's 80-something, but he'll just turn on golf and fall asleep in front of it. You know,
it's just a nap piece.
It really is.
It's just calming.
To guys like Hank, this is sports light. You know, I mean, it's it's
same
as baseball. It's
like
a sports light to them.
He would rather watch sports than have to watch anything else.
Yeah,
I understand it.
Yeah. So we're in the alley, and Dale is concerned that they are surgically ordaining women in the Harvard Divinity School. Hank says they're going to miss the Celebrity Pro-Am. They used to get celebrities to participate in it. Now I think it's famous golfers and stuff.
Yeah, well, golfers are now celebrities.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if
Tiger Woods did that.
Back then, I guess you would only get like one or two. I mean, that's the thing. You would get like the Jack Nick and then Arnold Palmer and then Tiger Woods. When I was a kid, I didn't know any other golfer's name other than Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
But now, I guess it's with just the internet and how people are able to be in their niche bubble. Like it creates more like followers to certain sports and things like that. Like NASCAR now, you go to a NASCAR race, there's it's like all walks of life are watching NASCAR now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then F1
racing too. F1 racing used to be a certain just set of people. Now it's so huge. They do it in Austin and everything. You know,
a lot
it's crazy.
of stuff on Netflix about it. The series there, I think that grew its popularity and things.
It's just the media and the way we consume it now. It creates these niches that people could like make entire livings off of these niches now.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was a lot harder to do.
So Bill, in response to this, says, "You know what I think? I think God sent a female minister here to punish me. First single gal to move to Arlen in years, and she's forbidden to marry." Hank says, "Bill, ministers can marry." He's, "Oh." Thank you, God. He's just any single woman. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he's weird.
Dale says, wait till Cotton finds out about this female man of God.
I almost hesitate to fax it to him.
Almost hesitate to fax it.
And even then, I guess faxing was big, but I don't know. When I was a kid, faxing was something that, again, it was at the end of the faxing lifespan. Even though they still do fax some things, the fax is still used.
Faxes, beepers, all of that kind of stuff.
It was like at the end of that, yeah. Well, beepers, I think, died a lot harder and faster than faxes. Because they're still using faxes.
Every once in a while, I'll see somebody pull out a pager.
Today?
It's nuts. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's usually, like, there's still some doctors that carry them.
Oh, I could see a doctor carrying one.
Why wouldn't you carry a phone?
Well,
What's
even
the
if you carry I think a doctor, even if you carry a phone, the beeper just is... I don't know. It's because you might be in an area that's sensitive to a phone.
Maybe you don't get phone service.
Because maybe not getting phone service, but there's a lot more stuff nowadays. There's a lot more technology that blows off your phone. RFC RFC rear field communication or whatever. The NFC, not RFC, NFC near field communication, and all that stuff. So I guess that stuff might tamper with the medical equipment, whereas a regular beeper is just, a radio signal. I think that's all they use. Was literally,
I think so.
I think it was literally just radio, like the radio waves, like we listened to the radio. I think it was just radio signals.
Yeah, I think it's part of that whole FM spectrum or whatever.
I think that's what it was, yeah.
So he says, I almost hesitate to fax it to him. Hank says, "That's not going to happen, Dale. I told you to stop sending my dad the Gribble report. the Gribble Report. I would love a copy of the Gribble Report if somebody wants to put that together.
That'd be funny.
Dale says, "You tell me a lot of things."
Well, that
Hank.
could be the name of the newsletter
That's
that we
right.
need to start.
He says, "You tell me a lot of things, Hank, most of which I publish." We are now in the church basement. It's nighttime. Everybody's gathered there to meet the new reverend. Now, if you'll notice, the dress of people here, way more casual.
Way
right?
more casual
because
for
this is a
Saturday.
potluck, you know. Group of parishioners, all handling pink solo cups, which I thought was weird.
In
And
Texas, what you would see though, I think a lot of like the dress would be a lot of plaid or like the crosshatch pattern.
either that, or you
And then
have
jeans,
You
the
have
boots.
the untucked or not untucked, the tucked in short sleeve dress shirt.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
for
that
guys.
too. And
Yeah.
then the
Sundresses
feed store
for
baseball cap.
ladies. Yeah, it could be.
It would be like the feed store
I
or your kid's baseball team.
I would have gotten socked in the face had I wore a hat inside a church, though. That just wasn't something you did.
Yeah, actually, I remember there was a point of contention with me when I was a teenager, and one of the problems I had was it was an old World War II vet, and he kept bugging me about my hat, and I told him, I was like, well, would you rather me be here in church or out there doing drugs in the street? I was like, I'm gonna wear my hat, and he just left me alone after that.
Yeah,
but
no, he thought you were spitting in the face of God.
that's what he said. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. He says disrespectful to have a hat on in church, and I said, where does it say that in the Bible? Show me. And they couldn't show you,
No.
so yeah, because it doesn't say it anywhere.
I love the fact that the basement here is all that wood paneling, that dark wood paneling, 70s type dark wood paneling.
Yeah,
And then there's a big banner in the back that says "Welcome" for the new person coming in.
That's what churches still look like in Texas.
Sure, everyone is bringing in a dish because this is a potluck. Do you have experiences with potluck, Rusty?
Yeah, I do have experiences with potlucks. A lot of casseroles, hot casseroles, and then you've even got cold casseroles.
Sure. Yeah.
The pea
Green bean
salads,
salad.
the green bean salads.
The pea salad.
The pea salad.
Ugh.
You've ever seen the pea salad?
Brody, I don't like.
You don't do the pea
peas.
salad?
Peas
Well,
are like little people that explode in your mouth.
I
don't
like
it.
peas. I like green beans. I
like
don't
green
like them
beans.
cold in salads.
No.
I don't like mayonnaise slathered foods.
Oh, I love me some mayonnaise.
but not
I just eat some
slathered.
mayonnaise right out of the jar.
Well, I like mayonnaise too. Don't get me wrong. I love
call
mayonnaise.
it aioli and hold my pinky up so I'm fancy. Well, I mean,
There you go. I mean, I like egg aioli too.
Yeah.
But I don't like cold slathered mayonnaise foods like the potato salads.
oh,
and
I see what you're saying.
It's got to be hot.
I do like a warm German potato salad. That's pretty damn good.
I like all food hot. I just like cold food is a salad. I like a cold
boiled
salad.
ice cream.
Yeah, boiled ice cream. Cold, what's that? What, isn't that milk? Boiled milk, boiled
It's
cream.
just boiled milk. Yeah. You
So
just
I mean,
feed that right
I
to your
just
baby.
I think like the Lutefisk is not something you would see me eating because it's not served hot.
Lutefisk is weird. It is weird, and we'll get to it here in
Cold,
just a
anything
second.
cold. I'm just not real. I don't know. I like hot foods.
Yeah.
I like warm food.
Sure.
I don't like I guess it might even be a temperature aversion thing when it comes to food.
I
Like
do like
cold
pizza.
food to me. No, not even that. I don't even
See,
like that.
I
I,
like
have to
cold-
heat everything up.
I like cold pizza just because it almost changes in consistency. But I like cold thin crust pizza. I don't want that hard
real
ass
thick,
cold
cold
crust.
crust.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a temperature aversion, I guess.
I get it.
Like food, to me is
Sure.
meant to be warm.
Sure.
Unless you're eating a bowl of cereal or something like that. Like who eats cold grits? You know what I mean? You
Yeah, I
know,
don't wanna eat
like,
cold
I
grits.
want warm grits. I don't even want grits.
I
but
want
if
grits
I
with
want them,
a
I
little
want them
sugar in
warm.
them, too, by the
little
way.
sugar.
Okay, so
Gotta be warm.
potluck.
Potluck.
We had a ton of potlucks being
Yeah.
Southern Baptist.
We used to have one, like when it wasn't football season,
Yeah.
it was like every Sunday there was a fellowship hall. Everybody was eating.
So the as a fat kid, the the thing I always look forward to were the variations on fried chicken. So as Baptists, Southern Baptists especially, lots of fried chicken at these things.
Yeah.
And so you'd get the churches because that's all we had at the time. We had churches.
Yeah.
And then maybe some weird one like Jim's.
But
out
that
there
was
by
before
you,
that was
you
like
know.
before like churches was extremely commercialized though, wasn't it?
Well,
Like,
no,
it was
no.
still good. Decent,
Churches was like
good
the
chicken.
number one chicken place.
Yeah.
Nobody would ever bring KFC because it was too expensive. But
KFC used to be high end.
Oh,
You know, it's
yeah.
funny we mentioned KFC. I've been in correspondence with a great
bot.
nephew of Colonel
you were
Sanders.
telling me, yeah.
And I'm trying to get him on the show, so if he actually listens to us,
I
man,
would
we'd love to
that.
have you on.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Got to tell his story because he's got a lot of beef with the KFC.
Beef.
There's a lot of it that he kind of because he does
sure
like
he
the history and stuff on his page.
Harlan
so.
Sanders hated KFC.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
hated it. He said it tasted
he did
like
everything
crap,
he could. He did
and
everything
that
he could. Yeah.
Gravy was like wallpaper paste. I mean,
So
he would
there's
come in and just
a,
yell at people.
Well, there's another family. The part of the family that still exists that still makes chicken is called Lee's Famous Fried
Oh, really?
Chicken or something. I think it's a
cool.
Lee's Fried Chicken or something like that. But
Yeah.
that's like a part of the. He is the cousin who made the blends of herbs and spices that KFC would go to use. He started his own chicken joint.
Yeah.
And then they kind of.
That's
There's
wonderful.
a lot of good.
I like the pressure
a
fried
good
chicken.
drama and rivalry around it.
Yeah, I like the pressure fried chicken. I think that it does give it a lot more taste and stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, not only that, the guy was like, just think about the innovation. You were like, well, I don't like all the solutions that are. I don't like everything that exists right now for this product.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make something.
Yeah.
And he went and made him a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Not only did he make a cooker, he made
Industrial.
It was industrial, and he was using what is considered one of the most dangerous methods of cooking.
Oh, sure.
Pressure.
With hot grease.
With hot grease. At
Yeah,
that.
that's amazing.
So he, it's just the innovation. I think that's crazy too.
The Sanders story is pretty amazing whenever you listen to it.
Yeah, he said there's one coming out, but it's not going to tell all the true stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like The Founder. Have you ever seen that movie with Michael Keaton?
That was good.
It's a good movie,
It's a good
right?
movie.
And
I wonder how much
I
of the
think
factual is good.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think it does cover a lot of the stuff because I know a lot about those
the fast
origins.
food history. Yeah.
Yeah, fast food origins to me are amazing. That, mascots, stuff like that. I love that kind of stuff.
It's great.
But anyway, we would get the variations on fried chicken. So we'd get a lot of the churches. We'd get some of maybe gyms or something, out there in Belmead.
Oh, that's good stuff still.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then you'd get the homemade fried chicken.
Those
That was a
usually
whole different animal for me.
It is. It is a different animal
Whole
because
different animal.
everybody has their.
And some of it was good and some of it was terrible.
Yeah, some of it's good, some of it's terrible. But the
Get a
thing that I
bloody
liked
leg.
about it is the good stuff. It would all vary because nobody made the batter the same way.
Yeah.
Nobody used the
Yeah.
same grease.
right.
And it's always the old lady would always say when you're going to grab it, "Oh, that's my grandmother's recipe." All of these old ladies, their grandmother showed them how to make it, and it's just I like the variances in the breading because some of it would be
Soft,
crunchy,
crunchy.
some would be crunchy, some of it would be have a little spice
In
to it.
between.
Some
Yeah.
of them you might get a little garlic and get a little garlicky flavor.
I would
a little
always
heat.
get.
I mean,
I'd always
it's
get
great.
like 3 or 4 pieces, and I'd get one from each. Just to because it was like eating a whole different thing. So all these people are coming in with these dishes. And we see Peggy talking to Bobby, and she goes, "Now, Bobby, honey, let's try to make Reverend Stroop feel very welcome, okay? Some people, they just cannot accept women in positions of real authority. I remember my first day as a 4th grade substitute teacher, and then it starts to pan over to the 4 guys leaning on the wall. Now, they don't have beer, which I was happy about, but they do have the solo cups. And Bill is wearing his entire uniform. You see Reverend Stroop start to come in, and he says, "Look, there she is. I'm a successful tire distributor. Back me up." Then he licks his hands and slicks down his hair.
His
I
hair
have
back.
never thought that such a thing was
That's
grosser.
nasty,
That's
yeah.
super gross.
Using spit to.
Well, it's like doing your eyebrows, or God forbid, an old lady doing it to a kid or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
Ooh,
Ugh.
gross. And so Bill, he sees
65-year-old hot breath just rubbed all over your cheeks.
he sees Reverend Stroop come in. He does a beeline over there. He's going to be the first one to talk to her. Peggy steps right in front of him and says, "Well, hello, Reverend." And Bill just, he's kind of slinks away. She goes, "I am Peggy Hill, and this is Peggy Hill's Frito Pie. It is a traditional Texas recipe that I found on the bag of a Fritos." I love that joke.
I like that joke
She just
too.
found it on the bag of Fritos.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with most of her recipes that she uses is she found them on the back of a bag of something.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Reverend Stroop, we hear her talk for the first time. She goes, "Well, Peggy Hill, Peggy Hill, Peggy Hill, Peggy Hill." And she puts her fingers to her forehead as she's saying it. And this can only be, and it's never really referenced, but it's a way for her to remember people's names,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But Peggy
No,
looks
definitely.
at her like she's a freaking Martian when she does this.
Which it is kind of. It's weird when people do stuff like that.
Well,
but,
if you don't know it's coming, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of neurodivergent people and stuff do that kind of stuff because it helps them. I do it in my head mentally because it does. It helps me remember a name to a face.
Sure.
Because if you say your name to me once and that's the only time that I hear your name, and I don't talk to you again for another few days or whatever it is, unless I have repetition of your name and your face together, I'll forget who you are.
So she says to Peggy, "Good. You're in for a real treat. I prepared a little taste of Minnesota called Lutefisk. It's a Scandinavian delicacy made by baking codfish in a solution of lye until the bones become gelatinous."
Yeah, and thanks to Arthur, he has told us here that is Mary Tyler Moore's voice.
Oh, wow. There we go. Mary Tyler Moore, what a talented individual.
Yeah, she had the Mary Tyler Moore show where she was a newsroom producer at a TV station.
Well, before
in
that,
Minnesota.
she was on Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah, she was on Dick Van Dyke.
That was in New Rochelle, New York. And then she went to Minnesota where she was the reporter there.
Yep.
And then she had a show just called Mary, I think. Anyway, she has this
and what's even crazier
career.
about that? That's the David Letterman connection again.
Oh, yeah.
David Letterman was a part of Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
He was part of the variety show or whatever it is that she had.
Is that Mary Tyler Moore or is that Carol Burnett?
It had something to do with both.
Those confuse me sometimes.
He had something to do with both.
Because I was just sitting here thinking,
pretty sure.
Oh, Mary Tyler Moore, she was in Better Call Saul. No, that's Carol Burnett. So those confuse me sometimes.
I think he had something to do with both, honestly.
All right, let's talk about Lutefisk real quick.
All right, let's get the Lutefisk out the way.
Pronounced Lutefisk in northern and parts of central Norway. In southern Norway, it gives all the pronunciations. It's made from aged stockfish, air-dried whitefish. That already sounds gross. You're air-drying your fish.
Sounds gross, period.
Or dried salted cod cured in lye, which is frightening. It is gelatinous in texture after being rehydrated for days prior to eating. Lutefisk is prepared in a seafood dish in several Nordic countries. It is traditionally part of the Christmas feast Norwegian julebord and Swedish jolbord, as well as the similar Finnish it is preserved fish provided protein for generations in part of the world with strong fishing traditions. Not known when people first started treating dried fish with lye. The reason was probably that the lack of major salt deposits in the area favored the drying process for the preservation of whitefish, a process known for millennia. So,
isn't lye like fat?
Lie's rough.
Isn't it just like pig fat?
I don't think so.
Some type of fat or something?
I don't know what lye is, to be honest with you. But I know that one of the things I looked up as I was preparing these notes, it said lye, the chemical that a lot of serial killers use to break up bodies. And I was like, oh, great.
Okay, it is a strong alkaline liquor rich in potassium carbonate leached from the ashes of wood.
Okay.
So it's a caustic is what it is. It's a solid caustic.
A Nordic specialty still enjoyed today throughout Norway, Sweden, and parts of Finland. The lutefisk is, as its name suggests, fish soaked in lye, caustic soda. Typically made with dried or salted whitefish, often cod or ling. The fish is coated in water and lye for a few days until it swells up and takes on a gelatinous jelly-like consistency. Yum.
Yeah, well, apparently that lye, as far as the food goes, it's used to can mandarin oranges, hominy. There's something called lye rolls. Have you ever heard of a century egg? Have you ever heard of a century egg? It's the 100-year-old eggs or whatever. Pretzels, bagels, they use it to tenderize. There's these things that it's a Cantonese dish called moon cakes.
Yeah,
so
I've heard of those.
It's used in all kinds of food, and it's not just, and it's a lot of places that use it too. You know, it's used in Philippines.
I'm not crazy about
East India.
I'm not crazy about any food that in its description uses the word swells up and gelatinous. Those two words shouldn't be used together.
No. Well, and stuff that's used to clean stuff too. You know, it just doesn't sound too good. But it's not damaging to the human being.
It also leaves all the bones in there because they become gelatinous as well, which is freaking nuts.
Well, I wonder. Well, that's the thing is whenever you're actually eating animals and stuff like that, there is a lot of nutrients and stuff in the marrow.
Sure.
So that probably has something to do with
My great-grandmother used to break those bones open and suck it out.
Oh, I still do that with chicken. I do that with all kinds of bones. I love bone marrow, yeah. But particularly with this lutefisk and stuff like that. I wonder if that had something to do with maybe some of the content of because it was Nordic, and a lot of Nordic Scandinavians settled in a climate that was similar to the one they left. So it's heavy Scandinavian communities in Minnesota. So I wonder if it was like a nutritional thing, like they got more nutritional value out of it when all the bones and everything were all mixed into it.
From what I understand, they were lacking in salt in the region, and so they needed something that would break it down like salt would. They used to pack things in salt, dry them out, and then knock the salt
there's
off
probably
of it
no
and cook
salt
it.
where they were at. Yeah, because where they were at was that there wasn't any recent oceans to have had major salt deposits. Like Texas has a lot of salt.
Sure.
There's a lot of salt deposits and stuff like that, and limestone and stuff like that.
It says by the time it turns gelatinous and jelly-like, that the caustic pH value of 11 or 12 is achieved, and therefore is inedible and highly toxic. Adventurous foodies need not despair, though. A few more days of treatment and water soaking renders the fish safe for human consumption, assuming it's undertaken correctly, that is. Wow.
Yeah.
The lye content will still ruin silverware and leave irremovable residue on pans or plates unless cleaned immediately, and that's not to mention the strong, unpleasant smell or soap-like taste. Yum!
Wow.
That all sounds fantastic.
Just as a quick fact about salt in Texas.
Sure.
There's a place called Grand Saline, Texas. It sits at the top of the largest and purest salt dome in the United States. The company Morton Salt has been mining it since 1931.
Morton Salt, huh?
Yep. And they have done seismic tests, and they have shown that the dome descends to a depth of some 20,000 feet.
Wow.
So they've been mining it since 1931, and there's still some 20,000 feet of salt there. So there you go.
Holy crap. So when she takes the lid off of this thing, there's obviously a terrible smell that comes out of it because all of the kids make a face. I mean, it stinks to hell.
It stinks. Well, I had a Korean uncle. He's passed away now, but we used to go to Korean. I used to go to the Korean church here in town, and they had kimchi, and it would smell. It was rotted cabbage. Is pretty much what it is. Rotted fermented cabbage, but it stinks like high hell.
Yeah.
It didn't smell good.
Yeah, it can.
The best kimchi stinks the worst. It's
some of the
best
food stinks terribly. Like stinky cheese is pretty good.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I'll even cut like the mold off of cheese and eat the middle of it because I don't like to waste it.
I just eat the mold.
It's like it ate
and the cheese.
All right, so it stinks. All the kids make a face. Peggy is kind of taken aback. She's like, oh, dear God. And so she says, oh, what, honey? Oh, okay. We'll be right there. Oh, my husband is dying to meet you. So she is, once again, this is shitty Peggy, just passing
Southern thing,
passing her off to her husband. She walks her over to Hank, and then you see Bobby over there by the Lutefisk, and he kind of does a look around, grabs a spoon, and takes a bite. Then we're back over to Reverend Stroop and Peggy, and she goes, Hank Hill. Good. She got her fingers to her head again, trying to remember his name.
Yeah.
He's got that bewildered look on his face again. He says, so, your first sermon tomorrow. You nervous? She goes, yeah, a little. He goes, me too. You see, the Pebble Beach Pro-Am is on at 1:30, and my VCR doesn't always work. Oh, that could be a problem, she says. The quarterback challenge is on at 1:15. Don't want to miss that. Hank, of course, being surprised, a woman likes sports. He says, you're a football fan? She says, let's just say between God and the Vikings, Sunday's not my day of rest. And they both have a good chuckle, and he goes, well, you might be right. He goes, seriously, though, how you fix for propane? So always selling, Hank. Good job. He's always selling propane. We go back to Bobby. He has now taken the entire lutefisk, and he is under the table.
Spooning it. Yeah,
he's
just
spooning it right into his
himself.
mouth. He's just gobbling this sucker down. And he stops for a second and goes, this stuff stinks, and then goes back to eating it again. We're back at Reverend Stroop. She goes, when I found out I'd been assigned to a little church in Texas, I was worried. A lot of female ministers don't last too long down here. This is back in church. Oh, no, she's talking to Hank. Hank says, yeah, it gets pretty hot in the summer. She says, Hank, let me ask you something. Do you like fish? Only catching them, cutting them, and eating them, or gutting them. Sorry, not cutting them. Stroop says, just a taste, Hank. She goes to the table. We cut to Bobby again. He's under the table. He is now licking the spoon. He has eaten the entire thing.
Oh, he's scarfed it all down.
He's
which
eaten
is
the whole thing,
insane.
and I want you to listen to this next line. She says, and we're hearing this from Bobby's point of view under the tablecloth, the whole thing. He's hiding with this empty dish and a spoon in his hand. And you hear her say, I want everyone in the congregation to have some lutefisk, and I only made enough for 30. The boy finished off 30 people's worth of lutefisk.
That's a lot of lutefisk.
So she goes, my lutefisk, where's my lutefisk? I put it right here in between the Frito pie and the Frito pie. She goes, has anyone seen it? Bobby, hearing this, oh, crap, he's very worried now. You hear everyone starting to mumble. Dale, maybe you put it in the dessert table next to my lemon bars. She goes, well, it's not here. You see Bobby's hand come up from under the table while everybody's over on the other side looking, and you see him throw the plate in the trash. Which rough move, Bobby.
That boy ain't right.
That's right. Good job.
Well, that's the thing is when this whole scene was kind of weird to me. The throw it in the trash part.
Yeah.
And then whenever they go to look for it here in a second,
yeah,
like why wouldn't there be food? Like if you threw away a container, there would have been a bunch of food in there too. Like you would have noticed.
Well, we'll see something here in just a second.
Yeah.
He then sneaks away. You hear Reverend, can everyone help me look? Bill standing next to the trash can in his uniform, looking dumpy as hell. I found it. He gets the plate out of the trash, and again, like you just said, there's a whole bunch of trash that falls off of it right onto him, but he's still got that big old dumb
He's got like
Bill
a piece
smile.
of trash on his face and everything
he's
that's
just
like
covered in
sliding down
garbage
his
now.
face. Yeah.
He's in love.
He is in love. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't call it love, but yeah, he's in something.
He's infatuated with any woman who might look at him. And
some that don't.
You hear Reverend Stroop go, did anyone get to try some? Someone just threw it out? Bill goes, that's right. I found it in the trash. Like it's some big
I mean, he's still got
gold
trash on his face, though.
I found it in the trash. Yeah. And you see a sad Reverend Stroop, and it's rough. So now we're in the truck with Hank, Peggy, and Bobby, and they're headed home, and Peggy is talking about what just happened. She goes, oh, poor Reverend Stroop, huh? Just seeing how much people enjoyed my Frito pie it must have been salt in her wounds. Damn it, Peggy, it's not all about you.
It's not always about Peggy. She's trying to make everything about her always. Just like she steals, who looks at a bag of Frito-Lays, takes the recipe off the back of it and says, oh, well, I'm going to call this Peggy's. Mm-hmm. Just because you make it doesn't mean it is Peggy's Frito pie. It's Frito-Lay's recipe for Frito pie.
We also
Peggy's.
found out that there were more than one Frito pie. But she's assuming that hers is the best.
Have you ever had a street taco place?
Oh yeah, where they
open the bag of Fritos and they just stuff all of everything inside of it. Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's good stuff, man. Walking tacos, what they call it.
Yeah, the walking taco. They do it. They would do it with Doritos and shit too.
Oh yeah,
it's really good with the. You get the spicy nacho Doritos and crush it up, and then put chili cheese and sour cream or whatever the hell else you want to put in there.
I think it's good too, but I like it with the Fritos because the Fritos are a little heartier. Like they stay crunchier longer.
Yeah, their consistency is thicker, so they and they're not as absorbed. They don't absorb a lot of the moisture as fast.
And I will say, I'm going to go on record as saying one of the greatest inventions of all time are Fritos scoops. To make a Frito larger.
Scooby snacks is what my dad calls them. Scooby snacks.
To make a Frito larger and make it where you can scoop dip on it.
Oh, bean dip too.
Wonderful.
My dad like bean dip and the Frito scoops.
Bean dip.
I remember when the scoops came out. Scooby snacks. That's what he called. Yeah. That's what my mom's like. Do you want some Scooby snacks? And that's what she'll go get them as those scoops in the bean dip. Yeah.
So she's talking about how it must have been salt in her wounds because her Frito pie was the best. Hank says it's sort of an odd way to attack a gal to throw out her favorite fish. And she says, but I doubt there's anything that could have hurt that woman more. Bobby just looks worried and sick. We're now at the Hill House.
Peggy's being kind of facetious too.
Come on.
I doubt there's anything that could have hurt that woman more. Threw out her favorite fish. She's just poking the bear, man, for no reason.
Super on the side of anybody saying Peggy's a turd.
Yeah, definitely for this.
She proves it 2 or 3 times here. We're back at the Hill House, and Bobby is trying to get his pants on, but they don't fit well.
No, he's sitting there.
You hear
making a lot of noise.
Yeah, you hear his stomach just grumbling. He's getting ready to go to church. You hear Hank say, let's go. If we get to church late, we'll have to park in the dirt lot. And then Bobby is finally ready, and he grabs the Pepto-Bismol and heads out the door. We're now.
Yeah, he's like, he takes a swig off it. Doesn't even measure it out to take the
No.
proper dose. He
That's
just
the way I do it.
Yeah, you just take a pull off it. Well, as I've gotten older, I feel like it's facetious to sit there and weigh
Measure
up
it out.
and measure it out because I'm only going to take it once that day. I'm never going to remember to tell. Not just not remember.
Right.
There's no point in the day where I'll have access to liquid ibuprofen again throughout the day because I'll be working
That's not
or too
liquid
busy.
Ibuprofen, is it?
Pretty much
Pepto-Bismol?
not Pepto-Bismol. I'm just talking about any medication
gotcha.
that's in a bottle that's over the counter. I would just I got a headache, NyQuil. All right, you just take a pull off the NyQuil bottle. You don't sit there. I don't sit there and measure it up.
See, I measure everything up with the exception of stuff like Pepto now because I almost died that time off the codeine.
Yeah.
I'm
He
a
was
little more
sipping the
careful
scissor.
about it.
Yeah,
A
you
little
gotta
more
be
careful
careful
about it. Yeah.
He was on that promethazine with codeine, the
I
scissor.
wasn't doing that. So we're back at church. Luann is now with us, and Reverend Stroop is up talking. She goes, I met y'all last night, and she really struggles to say y'all. Being from Minnesota, this is not something she said. She goes, I know you're good, decent people. I'm not going to judge the whole town based on the sins of one lost soul. Then it cuts to Bobby, and you just hear his stomach.
Yeah, his stomach's growling. Yeah, it's just nasty.
Back to the Reverend.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to judge that one person because I still don't know who it is. Bobby just looks guilty and sick. She is just kind of staring out at the congregation. She goes, well, it's worth a shot. I guess she was willing. She was looking for somebody to stand up in the middle of that and go, oh, I'm sorry, I ate all your fish.
Yeah.
She goes, please open your Bibles to Mark 6:41. And the 2 fishes divided he among them all, and they did eat and were filled. And Bobby is just, his stomach is killing him at this point. It's gurgling. She goes, and they took up 12 baskets full of and then you see Bobby, he kicks one of his shoes under
the pew,
under
kind of like. Well, I don't know particularly about Methodist pews, but there were some churches that I've been to where they have the deal that kind of drops down in front of you to put your knees on or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen that in a Baptist church too.
Oh,
I think what it was in a the Baptist church had the main sanctuary.
Well, they beat the Catholics out of the church.
Well, what I think it was when the church was originally built, it was built in cooperation with the Hispanic community as well. So they had the Protestant part, which was like the main big huge chapel, and then they had like this small little chapel to the side. And in the small chapel, they would sometimes have meetings inside of there with like for youth group meetings and stuff. But they had the drop down kneel things. So I think that was where the Hispanic population got to go and do their Catholic church in the neighborhood. I think that's what that was for, because I knew there was a Catholic church that ran out of that church. For a short, it wasn't like for a really long time, but I remember the history of the church or whatever. They had said that's what its original intention was so that the Hispanic community had a place to go inside of the community.
So she is reciting the verse about the loaves and the fishes. He kicks a shoe under the pew, and he goes, Mom, I left a shoe in the car, which I guess is a thing he's done before. He gets up to leave and starts
which is really odd. Like, why didn't he just say, I'm going to the restroom?
He starts
wouldn't that be easier?
waddling off to the bathroom. Well, he's guilty. He's thinking that something's going to get him. And then Stroop, she goes, all right, let's pray. And then all the heads are bowed, and boom, in comes Cotton Hill, waddling through the front doors. And Cotton looks at Hank and goes, what did I miss? She did a dance yet? Peggy's like, how did he find out about this, talking to Hank? And then you see Dale, who does have his hat on in church, going, Psst, Colonel, I saved you a seat.
Yes, I saved him a seat.
And then he picks up the fake ice cream on the pew, and he goes to sit right next to him.
That's funny, yeah. Why? I mean, again, just some of these gags are really funny. I think because that's so out of place. Like, nobody would do that at church. All you have to do is say, "This is my grandpa's seat," and
put a flyer
else.
Just
Yeah,
put your
flyer, or set your Bible, or you get the hymnal.
Anything.
That was my favorite one. Is they would grab the old person would grab a hymnal and set it there.
Sure.
And then nobody would sit there. They just didn't want some teenage hoodlums sitting next to him. It
cuts back to Stroop. Bobby is now waddled to the bathroom. We've got Stroop still up at the pulpit. Cotton has busted in now, but you hear her say, "Here's another Minnesota tradition that's not so easy to throw in the garbage. Let's everyone rise and hug the person next to you." And the congregation all gets up and they all start hugging. And then from Cotton, he said, "Leave it to a woman to turn God's house into a love shack." And then Dale comes over and goes, "Permission to hug you, Colonel." Denied. Go hug your wife.
Hug your wife.
He says, "I can't. She's hugging the person next to her." And you see Nancy hugging John Redcorn, even in church. And the Reverend Stroop comes up and goes, "Looks like you need someone to hug." He goes, "Looks like you need to read your Bible." And I quote, "Women should remain silent in the churches. They are not allowed to speak, but must be in submission. Corinthians." She goes, "Yes."
Corinthians. Yeah, he's just making stuff up.
She goes, "Yes, but in the book of," he goes, "Billy Graham, man. Jimmy Swaggart, man. Karen Stroop." And then Bill busts in. You rarely see Bill get pissed.
Yeah, this is really weird too, because he like shuts the whole room down with this one.
He's like, "Enough. If you hurt this woman, this single woman, and if you take her away from me, I promise I will strike you down." And Cotton says, "I made my point. If you need me, I'll be in one part of this church. It's still men's only." Obviously referring to the men's bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
You now see Bobby on the toilet in the men's bathroom. He has not locked the door to the bathroom. And you see Cotton start waddling in. Bobby doesn't know who it is, and so he announces, "I'm sorry, I ate all the Lutefisk." And he's on the toilet. He's groaning. He's
in a bad way. He's got the BGs, as we like to say.
Well, he's saying all this stuff to himself, not to the bathroom. And he goes, "Why did you have to taste so good? Why?" And then the door opens, and he's just like, and then Cotton comes in, and he just starts coughing and shrieking and yelling like Cotton does because of the smell. "Mercy, mister, what did you eat?" "Oh, forget it. I'll take my business elsewhere." After he lights a match and tries to get
Imagine
it to
how
stop
bad
stinking.
the room has to smell for you to decide not to use the restroom.
Not only that, imagine how bad it has to be for Cotton to decide not to use the bathroom.
Yeah, a guy who was in war and it smelled all kinds of death and fire. And
Bobby starts peeking out of the stall to see who it is, and he sees that it's Cotton, and all that stuff. Anyway, Cotton just drops the matchbook on the floor and leaves after he takes his business elsewhere, which is crazy. Bobby flushes the toilet. He comes out. He locks the door to the toilet because he's like, "I got to do something here. I still don't know if I'm done or whatever." It goes over to the sink. And then you start hearing the door rattling and somebody on the outside saying, "Hello? Hello? Is there anyone in there? Hello? Are you okay?" He's knocking and knocking. Bobby's getting super frustrated and all out of whack. He's just whimpering. It's rattling and rattling. Bobby finds the matches on the floor, and he starts lighting them and blowing them out, trying to get that sulfur smell to get rid of the poop smell.
Yeah, trying to kill the smell of that
as he's doing this
dank turd.
Yeah, as he's doing this, he climbs up on the urinal and sink, and he's opening the window, trying to flush it out. He's still lighting matches, but he keeps throwing the matches into the paper towel, into the trash there in the bathroom. And he doesn't really think about it. But we do kind of see some smoke start coming up as Bobby finally gets out that window, goes around the church, comes back into the front door, and sits down in the pew. He is just covered in dirt and grossness, but nobody says anything. And then Hank, he's like, "What's that smell?" And Bobby says, "Oh, nothing." He goes, "Oh, wait a minute. I know that smell. Fire!" Yeah, and all the alarms are going off and all that stuff. And next thing we see, everybody rushing out at once. I mean, everybody going out at once. They're all in panic. And then we see the church engulfed in fire and everybody just standing there watching. And that is a commercial break, and that will take us to our commercial break, and we will be right back.
Right back.
All right, we are back, and the church is engulfed in fire at this point. Hank, you hear him. I mean, the entire congregation is still there watching it. You see the firemen trying
once
to
you
put this
scream
thing
fire,
out.
the whole room's paying attention.
It's the one legal time you can do it.
Yeah.
Hank says, oh, God, please don't let it be the propane tanks. And, I mean, the church is is an entire loss. I mean, the whole thing is gone.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely gone. It's past salvageable.
The Reverend Stroop comes up. She's speaking to the congregation who's all standing there watching. She goes,
And this joke's pretty good too. I like this joke.
She goes, I just spoke to the arson investigator. His investigation points to arson. And everybody just goes,
What are the odds?
It's the arson investigator.
What are the fucking odds?
She goes, someone did this because they don't want a woman minister. To him, I say, you can burn down our church, but you cannot burn down our faith. Our faith is the kind of stuff that children's pajamas should be made of. And everybody applauds. I have no friggin' clue what that means. It's children's pajamas should be made of our faith. So I looked that up.
I'm not sure what she's talking about there. It's kind of weird to me.
And I don't know if this is the right time or not, as far as when this was the thing.
Yeah.
But there was an article that said Christians' pajamas help kids conquer fear of dark. So the pajamas were inspired by the book of Ephesians in the Bible. The children's grandmother, Peggy Wakefield, is one of the 2 women marketing the pajamas. A Spartanburg, Florida-based company has come up with a unique way to help children conquer bedtime boogeymen while learning about God.
Did you look up that verse?
No, I didn't look up that verse.
That verse probably mentions something about faith and pajamas or children's clothing or something. I don't know.
So this lady,
there's some absurd crap in the Bible, so that might be in there.
So they make these pajamas with the words like salvation and faith, and they have the armor of God on them and stuff like this. The lady says they go to bed with the full armor of God. And then she quotes Ephesians 6:10-18, talk about putting on the full armor of God.
Oh, that's the armor of God. Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
And she goes at the end, the article says, they admit the pajamas are unusual, but they say their intent is not hard for other believers to grasp. And this is my favorite quote from the article. If they're Christians, they'll get it, she says. So if you're not a Christian, screw you. Your kids can be afraid of the dark. So that's the only thing I could find that's anywhere close to the children's pajamas thing. Now we get Bobby in the crowd. He goes, why would someone want to burn down our church? Peggy said, honey, they weren't trying to burn down our church. They were trying to kill Reverend Stroop. And I'm like, what the hell, Peggy? That's a big leap. Right, that they're trying to burn down the church to kill the reverend.
That's a huge leap. Like you can't eat. Like you're not even going to rule out every other possibility. And the first thing you're going to jump to is like, oh yeah, they're trying to kill the reverend.
Yeah.
Which it's I don't know. Maybe that she jumps to that conclusion because of the dark history of a lot of small Texas towns.
Could be.
There's a lot of dark histories in a lot of small Texas towns. So maybe that has something to do with the sordid past of Arlen.
So you see
Harlan?
Harlot Town.
Yeah.
You see the arson investigator come up and he goes, the fire started in a garbage can in the men's room, and Bobby's just like, oh. So now we're back at the Hill House. We're at the breakfast table.
And this is another example of Peggy's ignorance.
Well, not only ignorance, but just whatever, man.
Yeah, I don't even know what you call this shit. This joke is hilarious, though. This is a really good joke, though.
She goes, and I read in the paper that the flames were so hot they literally burned the very wood the church was made of. And I just put out beside it, yes, wood burns. I mean, what the hell? She looks at Bobby. She goes, Bobby, you haven't even touched your arroz con chicken, which is... It's chicken with rice. That's all that is.
That's
Peggy.
all that
you
is.
You don't need to flavor that up. We're good. Bobby says, I'm not eating ever again. And Cotton says, I don't blame you. I ate bugs in the war. It tasted better than this.
It's funny, though, that he pushed it, too. Yeah, he just pushed it in front of him,
yeah. And Peggy says, actually, Cotton, I think he's upset about what happened to the church. Luann, in one of her really Luann moments, says, it burnt down. Okay, Luann, we get it.
It burned down.
Bobby says, I feel so bad. And he's just like crying at the table. Peggy says, it's not your fault, honey. Whoever committed this hate crime is the one who should starve himself to death, not you. Starve himself to death. Thank you, Peggy.
Yeah, that's dramatic.
Bobby gets up. He's very upset. He's crying. He runs from the table. She says, this being Peggy, goes, oh, our sweet, sweet little sensitive boy. He feels everything so deeply, like a poet.
And I like how she abruptly stops and
she
goes,
has to
a
look
cowboy
at Hank.
poet. Yeah.
She has to look at Hank and goes, a cowboy poet.
Which I don't understand that because as somebody who studied poetry, if you look at a lot of really good poets, especially American poets, they were like these rugged, like frontier type people who were in, like Ernest Hemingway was in like World War I, you know, fighting in the trenches and stuff like that. So like to assume that just because somebody's a poet, like to be a good poet, you have to have life experience to be able to convey emotion in a certain way.
But she's just saying that to appease.
Oh,
Hank.
I know.
That's all it is.
I know it.
So
like,
now
I just like even Hank having that mentality. I think is funny.
it's rough. Yeah.
Well, it shows again how if it's not if it's not blue collar, then a lot of society in Texas kind of like shuns the arts. A lot of small Texas towns shun the arts.
Well, we saw that with the art gallery in Dallas that they went to and all that kind of stuff too. I mean, art is just like this superfluous thing. It's not something that's meant to, give life or inspiration or anything. They just think of it's just art. It's not football.
Which as a Texan, I can assure you that is very, very, very,
it's very real.
on point.
It's on brand.
We live in a town that it has struggled to get to where we are now, and to actually have an art community for people who have lived here as long as we have. It's just mind blowing to us that these things can happen, and all these creators can get together and do stuff in such a small Texas town mentality place.
So now it's either later in the day or the next day, and we're having another church meeting in front of the burned down church now. Mm-hmm. There's a priest that comes in, a rabbi. Khan dressed up like a monk for some reason.
Khan is a Buddhist.
Well, I understand he's Buddhist, but he ain't no monk. So what's he doing sitting up there? I guess he's the only Buddhist in town, so that's who they bring in. They're sitting behind Stroop. She says, "It is with a heavy heart that I welcome you to this interfaith prayer service." Bobby looks super worried and guilty. She says, "Protestant and Catholic, Jew and Buddhist, man and woman, we are all brought together today by hate." And Luann's only other line, "Ooh, I hate," which
I hate. Yeah, which is good. That's a good one.
And so Min runs up to take a picture of Khan real quick, and then goes back and sits down. She goes, "Hate that throws out my lutefisk, hate that burns down our church, hate that makes an innocent little boy stop eating." That's right. Would Bobby Hill please come up to the microphone? Bobby is just super surprised, looks super worried, super nervous. Peggy says, "Go on, honey, it'll be okay." And then she looks over at Min and goes, "Psst, click, click, click." She's making that camera clicking motion to her because she wants her to go up and take a picture of Bobby just like she did of Khan. Bobby goes up to Stroop. Min takes the picture. She says, "Bobby, the strength of your devotion is an inspiration to us all. That's why I want you to be the first to know the police have found the matchbook that started the fire and are closing in on the arsonist." I don't know why she sounds Irish all of a sudden. Bobby gasps really loud and just faints. Peggy
Poo.
Peggy rushes to him. She grabs him. The crowd's just like, "Oh, Bobby!" And then Stroop continues. She says, "For the sake of this poor, tortured soul, please help us find the man responsible for this hate crime." Bobby starts to kind of wake up, arouse. She goes, "If you know anyone who might carry a matchbook from a strip club in Houston, tell the police." Peggy, of course, looks at Hank because she knows who she's talking about at this point.
Yeah.
And she knows it's Cotton. And she gets this super mad look on her face. We now go back to the Hill house. It's nighttime. I'm guessing it's the same day. Peggy says, the matchbook came from a strip club in Houston.
A strip club in Houston,
Hank.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is Hank and Peggy in bed again. Hank is already rolled over and Peggy's still talking. She starts poking at Hank and he says, "My father did not burn down the church. Lots of guys go to strip clubs in Houston." Peggy says, "Oh, and also go to the church in Arlen where they harass female ministers and then announce they're going to the men's room where the fire started with matches from a strip club in Houston." And this is when Peggy is shitty Peggy, because she looks super satisfied when she takes off her glasses, has the last word, and is the one to go to sleep. I mean, that to me tells you everything you need to know about Peggy.
Oh, yeah,
she just wants to be right.
She just wants to be right. She didn't even care about what the situation. And you notice she didn't call the police or anything.
No, of course not.
She didn't do anything because, she's got to be right.
What if she's wrong?
That's all that matters.
She don't want that.
Nah.
So next thing we see is we're in Dale's basement, and he's watching like CCTV of Bill ironing his clothes. So in Bill's house, he has a camera. I'm assuming he has a camera in everybody's house at this point. And
potentially, for sure.
You hear Cotton come in. He starts coming down the steps in his little waddling fashion. He goes, Gribble, you gots to help me. They found my girly bar matches. It's only a matter of time before they accuse me of church burnery.
Church burnery.
Dale, with a poster of Mexico behind him, says, "Colonel, I'd be honored if you'd use my phone to claim responsibility." He says, "But I didn't do it, you idiot." He goes, "The evidence suggests otherwise. They've got your matchbook, and it won't be long before I turn you in." Okay, Dale, good job. He says, okay, here's how it went down. I tried to go to the latrine, but there was already a man in there. He goes, I lit one match in self-defense, and they beat a hasty retreat. The smelly man must have set the fire after I left. Find a man with a terrible smell, and you'll have your arsonist. Dell says, sir, your only hope is to make a run for it.
Yeah, your only hope.
Only hope.
Even the guy who's like the conspiracy theory king didn't even believe it, but it's a true story.
Sure. Hank, that we now transition, we see Hank's alarm clock. It is 2:37 in the a.m. We hear a dog bark, and then Peggy goes, Hank, wake up. He just kind of moans. She goes, then we cut to Cotton coming out the front door with his bags already packed, and Peggy comes out, and she goes, going somewhere? She turns on the front porch light. He says, now, why don't you just turn around, go back to bed, and no one gets hurt? And then you hear the police siren approaching. Quick, you got to hide me. He starts throwing clothes out of the suitcase, puts it down on the ground to crawl into it to hide. That's how tiny Cotton is. He can crawl into a suitcase.
Yeah, he just crawls right into it.
The cops pull up, and you hear, we know you're in there. Come out with your hands up. And this is about the same time that Bobby wakes up. He's looking out the blinds at the cops with a gun pointed at the suitcase. And you see him now. They've got Cotton out of the suitcase. They've got him handcuffed. He goes, they say, Cotton Hill, you're under arrest for arson. You got the wrong man. Let me down. And Bobby, by this time, has come to the front door. He's watching with everybody else. And he goes, Mom, he didn't start the fire. He couldn't have.
He's crying the whole time.
He's crying, yeah. And then.
And he's in his pajamas full of faith.
And you hear Cotton's go, Bobby. He goes, Grandpa, I didn't do it. I believe you. It was somebody else. I know. Look for the man with the terrible smell. He's the one you want. You hear me? The man with the terrible smell.
I'll miss you.
There's a big pregnant pause in there where Bobby had a chance to give it up, and he goes, I'll miss you. He's just crying. He doesn't say anything about it. And the cops drive off with Cotton in the back seat, and he is arrested.
And he's gone. Yeah.
Next
got him
thing,
locked up.
Yeah. Next thing we see is that Arlen skyline, that same picture that we're familiar with the water tower and the sun rising. And Hank is in the kitchen with everybody else, and he's looking out the curtains over the sink, and he goes, okay, show's over. Now, nothing to see here. Everyone go home. And then it shows outside, and it's literally just Bill, just Dale, and just Boomhauer on the sidewalk. That's it.
Barely anybody there, yeah.
He looked at Hank inside.
There's a circus out there.
Hank says to Peggy, it's a circus out there. And he goes, they just start dispersing, the three of them. They all walk in different
they just
directions.
walk towards their houses.
So Hank now says, by now, it's all over town. My dad's an arsonist. And Peggy goes, well, I don't know why you're so surprised. I've always said that man is capable of anything before. People used to look away or pretend not to hear me. But now they'll all have to nod in agreement. Yes, they will. And I just wrote, shitty Peggy, because that is pretty shitty.
It is very shitty.
Bobby, sitting at the kitchen table with him, he goes, even if Grandpa did do it, doesn't mean he's a bad person. Hank says, Bobby, I've always stood by my dad no matter what, and there's been a lot of what over the years. But burning down a church, I just don't know. And Bobby goes, but he's still your father no matter what, right? Again, we get one of those big pregnant pauses as Hank's kind of thinking, and he goes, well, I know you can disown a child. There must be something like that for a parent.
Oh, wow.
And Bobby's just like, oh, shit. I mean,
that's
he gets
a
that
shitty
look
thing
on
to
his
say to
face.
your kid.
Oh, it's
too.
rough.
I know you could disown a child, but is there something like that for parents too? That's terrible.
We now cut to the Arlen bus depot, and Bobby is coming up to the counter, and he goes, I'd like a one-way ticket to Mexico, por favor. That means today. No, it doesn't, Bobby.
Yeah, I like that too. That's a good
But that's
joke.
been passed down to you by your mother.
Yeah.
Then we hear a woman go, Bobby? And Bobby turns around and he goes,
Bobby?
Grandma Dee Dee. She goes, oh, Bobby, I just came in from Houston. Cotton is in jail. He goes, I know. He goes, are you here to bail him out? She goes, there's no bail. He burned down a church. Now our baby is going to grow up without a father. Not your and my baby, Cotton and my baby. She is a total idiot, by the way.
She is an idiot, but that's a weird joke, even for an idiot.
Hey, Bobby says to her, I feel so bad. It was an accident. I just know it was an accident. Why can't they just leave him alone and forget about it? Now, as he's talking, just real quick, behind him is the bus schedule. Bus arrivals, 1:15 San Angelo, 1:30 Matamoros, 2:45 Cedar Point, 4 o'clock Juarez, 5:45 San Marcos, and 6:30 something that starts with the letter O. In the departures column, we have 1 o'clock Amarillo, 1:40 Nacogdoches, 2 o'clock Matamoros, 3 o'clock Port Aransas, 5:30 Longview, and 6 o'clock Juarez. Now, I'd like to say one thing. Hats off to the writers and the animators here, because the bus arrivals and departures match up really well. They did a good job of figuring out the times when buses would arrive and when things would depart. So,
oh, yeah, absolutely.
good job. Dee Dee says, this baby was an accident too, but if I forget about it, it would never get born. That's not the way babies work, Dee Dee, but okay.
That is not the way babies work at all. But I like, even though in her ignorant babble, she does drop a wicket of nugdom.
A wicket of nugdom.
A nugget of wisdom.
Sure.
And Bobby is savvy to what the wisdom is that she's putting in there, and he continues to figure it out.
Oh, yeah. She says, I think you have to be responsible for your accidents. Cotton thinks so, too. At least he stopped saying he didn't. Okay. Yeah. She goes, he said if the baby turned out as good as you, Bobby, then he will not abandon it. Okay. Didn't know that was a choice, but all right. It shows Bobby, and he's just got this trembling lip, and he's in rough shape now. We now go to the Arlen police station, and we're in an interrogation room with Cotton on one side and Hank and Peggy on the other side. And I just wrote down, how are they in an interrogation room with this guy they just arrested? That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, no,
That's
it doesn't happen at all. Unless, like, somehow they worked out a deal where the cops will go in there and talk.
This is nuts.
Actually, I know of a pretty crazy crime where somebody got to go talk for him. So I know the family of Kenneth McDuff.
Yeah.
And the family member that communicated with him was actually his niece while he was locked up because he wouldn't talk to the police.
Sure.
So whenever he gave up where everybody was at, they used her as the channel through which to get that information.
Well, it gets a little weirder here in just a second. But Peggy is talking to Cotton. She goes, Cotton, you have got to confess. You will feel better and I will feel better. Well, it is about you, Peggy, so that's good. Hank says, they're offering you a good deal. A cop to the hate crime, and they'll drop the 123 counts of attempted murder. That's a lot of attempted murder.
It's a lot of people inside of a church.
So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was full. Cotton says, no deals. I'm not taking the fall for the smelly man. Hank says, dang it, Dad, there's no smelly man. Now, number one, getting weird, he is able to get up, grab Hank by the collar, and start kind of talking right in his face, and he goes, now you listen to me. I spent 2 weeks on Iwo Jima buried under a pile of bodies. The things I smelled, you can't even imagine, but I'll never forget what I smelled that day in the church. It was a vengeful stink. It was a stink for the ages. We see a bus drop Bobby off with a suitcase. He starts running down the street to get away. And then Peggy responds with a stink for the ages by saying, I will tell you what stinks, old man. Your story stinks. And now here's the weird part. Bobby busts into the interrogation room with a suitcase in a police station. That is, I don't care what deal you've made. You don't let a 12-year-old boy just bust into an interrogation room. But he is out of breath, and he goes, Grandpa, Dad, Mom. And he's still panting, and he goes, it was me. It was all my fault. I ate the Lutefisk. I got sick in the bathroom. I lit the matches. I burned down the church. I let everyone blame Grandpa.
Yep, that's terrible.
And, of course, he's like, I told you I didn't do it. The boy is the man with the terrible smell. And then Peggy says, oh, I knew it. I knew this was too good to be true. And she pulls out the cassette recorder she's had in her purse the whole time trying to record a confession from Cotton. And then she starts pulling the tape out of the reels of I don't know why she did that.
Destroying the evidence.
Okay, what evidence? She's still going to have the cassettes with her. She's still going to have the recorder.
She still has the recorder.
And the other thing is, you could rewind those damn things.
Oh, you could fix them, yeah.
So, anyway.
She would have had to, complete, well, you can, even then, you can splice them and everything else. Yeah. She had to melt it.
Hank says, Bobby, you're gonna march down that hall and tell the people and tell the police everything. See, maybe they will spare your grandfather's life. Bobby says, okay. And then Cotton just bangs on the table and he goes, nobody's going no place. Sit down, Hank and Hank's wife. You too, Stinky. And Hank says, hey, don't call him that. He goes, oh, I'm sorry. Did I hurt your feelings, Stinky? And then Bobby comes, Grandpa. He goes, it don't feel so good, does it? Well, get used to it, because that's what everyone's going to call you if you go blabbing to the police, Stinky.
Stinky.
And he not only says police, he goes, police.
Police.
Peggy says, he's right. Oh, Lord, and there are other names, too. And in interjects Hank. He goes, hey, how about arsonist? That's what they'll be calling him in the state of Texas versus Bobby Hill. Peggy says, oh, so many names. What are we going to do? And then Cotton, the only one with a good head on his shoulders in this one, which feels like you're in the Twilight Zone. He goes, you'll do what I say you're going to do. Now, get the cops in here. He says, tell them I'm ready to confess. Hank said, no, Dad, you can't. He goes, I'm an old man. Everybody already hates me. But Bobby, he's just a child. He's got his whole life ahead of him. And then we get this huge pregnant pause. Hank and Peggy kind of look at each other, and Peggy says, Cotton, do you know what you're saying? Which I think is Peggy like realizing, oh shit, Cotton might have a slice of dignity in him or goodness here.
Potentially.
Cotton says, if I can take a bullet for my grandson, I'll do it, but not in the face. That's how I make my livings.
That's how I make my livings.
Don't know what the hell that means.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Neither does Hank, because he goes, how you make your, and he goes, send them in. I just wrote, huh? Down to the side of that because I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Now we've got
It could just be a joke.
It could be.
Yeah.
But now we've got Cotton in front of that burned down mess of a church, and he is kind of recanting the whole thing. And he goes, I tell you what I told the cops. I'm the one who burned down your church, but it was an accident. As for the man with the terrible smell, well, that was me too. I'm old. I got no shins. My plumbing don't work so good no more. I blame the fire on someone else because I was embarrassed by my own terrible smell. Dale is just bawling, sitting next to Nancy and Redcorn.
Yeah. I always think it's funny how they're always at the same place together.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they travel as a couple.
And then
a throuple, sorry.
Stroop says to the congregation, the digestive problems of the elderly are gross to hear, but we should pity them and not condemn them. Or she goes, it's across the bear. Sorry, not gross to hear. And she goes, Cotton Hill, you have my forgiveness and love. She goes to hug him. He pushes her away. She goes, and I invite the entire congregation to offer you their forgiveness and love with a hug. Everyone immediately stands up and starts going towards Cotton in a line. He just looks mortified.
He hates it. Yeah, he doesn't like any kind of affection or any kind of physical contact.
In normal life, he would not allow this, right? But he's doing it for Bobby.
He's got to do it. He's got to suck it up.
Yeah. He goes, he is just, he's in pain every time somebody hugs him. Every time somebody hangs him, he's like, and then
he's getting beat up.
You see the whole line start going through. Dale goes through, hugs him, then a few more people, and then Dale runs back to hug him again.
Hugs him twice. Well, I'm surprised he doesn't act more perverted when Nancy hugged him, because he was even like, when Nancy hugged him.
He didn't want anybody.
He didn't want anyone hugging him.
And so Bobby finally says, he goes, Mom, as long as we're confessing, remember when Grandpa broke the Arm of Your Boggle trophy because he was playing soccer in the house? Peggy says, yeah, I'll never forgive him for that. He goes, it was me. She goes, I forgive you. I mean, just that quick.
Instantly. I forgive you. And then grabbed him in and hugged him.
And then we just see a long line of people hugging Cotton as we fade to the credits. And then after the credits, we hear Cotton say, but not in the face. That's how I make my livings. And that is it, man.
That's it. That
is the end of season 3, episode 21, Revenge of the Lutefisk. And that was fantastic. I think
shout out to Archie again for the
Artie.
What did I say, Archie?
Archie.
Yeah, I meant Artie. Sorry.
Shout out to
Artie.
Jughead.
Yeah, shout out to Jughead, Veronica, all them guys.
I think because of that quote from Cotton, that's how I make my living, that our Friday episode, we're going to kind of go over Cotton Hill all by himself and just see what we can come up with.
Yeah, sounds great.
Because I have no remembrance of Cotton being a face model of any kind.
Yeah,
so
I don't know. Me either.
All right, so you want to tell them where they can find us if they want more of this ridiculousness?
Yeah, if you want more of this ridiculousness, you can find us at Linktree, linktr.ee/BWAAAKOTH. That's Linktree. BWAAAKOTH, and if you don't want to go there to find us, you can find us on most social medias at BWAAAKOTH.
That's right.
Bwaaa KOTH.
Now we, like I said, we're working on a lot of big stuff. We'll have some video content for you before long, and we'll make some announcements about that. We are also going to set up a Patreon, so that you guys can start getting our notes and different little pieces that we get together during the week.
And what we're going to also do with that is we're going to give you the ad-free
absolutely
everything on Patreon.
Unedited.
So you'll be able to get
hear all of our crappy breaks.
Yeah, so you get all of our breaks, whatever. So all of the episode content and everything, that'll be available there.
Yeah.
What we're going to eventually do and this is going to be at the beginning of season 5. We're going to take off season 1, 2, and 3 from all from everywhere it's at right now. 1, 2, and 3 will only be available on Patreon at the beginning of season 5. We're going to give you guys a season and a half because we're almost done with season 3. We're going to give you all of season 4 to understand and get it in your head that if you want to rewatch those episodes, they'll be available on Patreon once we get to that point.
Yeah, and so we're making some moves there, and we'll see what happens. I know a lot of you have been asking for something like Patreon or something like that, a way to support us, and we really appreciate it. We appreciate all the emails. We appreciate the gifts, the love that we get from all of you guys, and just keep it coming. We really, really appreciate it. Just about the time you start thinking, boy, this is a slog, then you get an email or a gift or a something from somebody, and it just keeps us going. So
yeah, it changes your perspective.
We really appreciate it. Yeah, we've met another guy out of this show, F, the animator who worked on Fairly Odd Parents and a bunch of other big stuff, and Rusty's starting a show with him, Animation Conversation.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great secrets cooked up for y'all. We're not gonna reveal
six episodes worth of guests already
or so.
Scheduled.
Yeah, so, and we're going to try to make it a one-stop destination for anything to do with animation, past or present. Yeah. Our goal is to help preserve some of this animation history and to also preserve some of the current animation history that's happening in real time and to give a lot of young creators some lessons from some industry greats too. You know, there's going to be a lot of nuggets of gold for anybody that's in the animation world in this. There's gonna be a lot of learning opportunities for them as well in this endeavor that we're embarking on. We're gonna reach out to some of the older studios.
Sure.
One in particular that we're gonna reach out to is Fleischer Studios, which Max Fleischer is an early innovator in the early 1900s. He invented what was called the rotoscope.
Bongo. Did you do Bongo the Rabbit? Or one of the rabbits?
He did. Coco the Clown.
Coco the Clown. That's
so what he did was he invented a way to take real life animation, real life videos. So he would say for Cab Calloway was one that was used. Yeah. They would take on this rotoscope device. They were able to put the film and they were able to put a stencil, if you will, and they were able to draw the animation of the human being moving and turn it into a cartoon. Yeah. And
Max Fleischer was a big
there's
deal.
one that goes around a lot and it's really popular with a ghost dancing, and it's to Cab Calloway's music.
I remember that. The skeletons coming apart.
Yeah. They took Cab Calloway's actual strut across the stage and did that. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of cool stuff for you guys. I hope that you guys come over there and check that one out too with us.
There's also a ton of new shows at roguemedianetwork.com if you want to check those out. And until next time, we'll see you guys and keep listening, and we appreciate your support.
Wimatanye.
Wimatanye. This has been a Rogue Media Network production.